Welcome back to another episode of Honest Tea Talk, where we will be speaking about something we all need: wisdom. Do you have wisdom? Do you have wisdom? Do I have wisdom? I don't know. Let's talk about wisdom. Wisdom through the journey of life. Sumayah, I'm going to come to you.
Definition?
We know what the definition is. No, actually, do we, in fact? What is that's actually a good starting point. What is the definition of wisdom for you?
What's coming to me is the Arabic, and that is it is to put everything in its proper place. And I think that can go. You can apply that anywhere. To put things in their appropriate place, people, status, things in their appropriate place.
I love that. Never heard that before.
Yeah. What about you?
I like that.
Like, I second that. Echo your sentiments. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because subhanAllah, when you were saying it, what was coming to mind for me was the wise thing to do in certain situations is sometimes to be quiet, right? It's to sometimes retreat, to step back. Sometimes it is to be quiet. Sometimes it is to withhold what is on mind. And sometimes the appropriate thing to do is to step forward, is to speak up, is to come out, whatever it might be. And I think if we were to apply that definition of things being in their appropriate place, the question then comes to mind of, is this appropriate for this time and this place and this context and this person now? You know, that's what comes to mind for me.
And what leads us there? I think experience. I think painfully experience when we haven't put things in their appropriate place, appropriate time, in the appropriate context with the right person, and maybe the negative effects of that, which then acts as kind of lessons to think, what would have happened had I chosen differently, had I done differently, had I taken a step back? I think wisdom for me comes with, yes, experience, but also pausing before reacting. Like just taking a moment of pause to collect all the data you need, analyze, and think, right, what's the best decision for the outcome I desire? Not necessarily just for you, but for others or the situation. I think that pause is crucial.
Even before that, knowing what the desired outcome is. Because before you can
wisdom
even
for that too.
Yeah, because before you can even think of what's the right action for the outcome I desire, what is the actual outcome that you desire from this before you even take that action, you know? And sometimes we act thinking we know what that intended or desired outcome is, but we don't. We haven't actually paused to think about that. We think we do. We know, or we think we've done that, but we haven't.
I think also you were talking about experience, and I feel like I'm just thinking about people who I consider to be wise, and what is it about them? And it makes me think of the line between knowing and having like experiential knowledge, the knowledge of books or a study or a course versus somebody who has lived experience. And I think that in the Islamic context, maybe more, that there is more emphasis on the ilm, the book knowledge, but people who have experiential knowledge really have something like intangible and special. And sometimes you'll observe someone and you'll think this person's got it. But it's like, will I DM them and say, what course did you take and how did you get to where you are? It's not an answer. It's not like, oh yeah, go to this place and you'll come out just like I am. This person has their life experience, has everything they've gone through. And sometimes there's also a God-given thing that someone has. They just have it. They just have it. And it's like, they'll say like, this is an old soul, or this is somebody who just feels like they have this gravity about them. You don't know why, but it's there.
It's interesting you say that, because so often, especially in this day and age, we want fast-tracked ways to get to certain destinations. We see someone being able to do something and we want, how did you get that? What courses did you study to be able to do that? You know, how are you able to think like that and so quickly on your feet? But there is no shortcut to wisdom either. You know, you can't fast track that. You have to go through things, but not just go through things, to take the lessons, to take that time to reflect, to look back and pause and think, okay, what was that? What's the message? What's the lesson? What's that I can bring into this and to carry forward? That's the process of developing our ways of being wise. But I don't think it just comes with age, because you've got very wise young people right now who, like, they think differently, and you're like, whoa. But but I do think it's that act of pausing and reflecting, that being able to be still, not going for the next fast thing, but just thinking, okay,
it's just way up.
And that's where I think that's the piece that's really crucial to being able to discern and have that wisdom and to take action from a place of wisdom.
I think for me, I'm kind of listening to you both, and when you said that, you know, when you think of someone who's wise, what characteristics do they have? And I automatically went to someone, you know, a sister I know who I consider to be extremely wise, mashallah, and just different ways of thinking that she has she's invited me to adopt. But then I also think wisdom from other people is obviously needed and useful. But then I don't know if I'm going to make sense here. That lived experience was in their model of the world. And so I think you can take lessons from someone's lived experience, therefore taking their wisdom, but then it only really becomes wisdom within yourself when you have taken lessons from your own lived experience, from your own model of the world, and you do better next time. Am I making sense? It's like taking lessons from another person, it's all good and well, but the true growth and the true wisdom comes from within and comes from your own lived experience.
What comes to mind for me when you say that is wisdom from my mum's generation might be, don't trust anyone. Don't tell anyone your business, meaning close yourself off from people. And that was what got them through their experiences. That's what got them through the challenges that they were faced with. Is that the wisdom that benefits me? Is it wise for me, like you said, appropriate for me to shut myself off and not trust anyone? So it was wisdom for that time, that place, that context. It was appropriate then for that model of the world. But in mine, actually, also for what I want, if I want close relationships, if I want vulnerability, if I want connection, that doesn't work. That wisdom doesn't work now. It's not appropriate for this space.
So then you need wisdom
to discern that.
To discern that and to separate wisdoms and to look at, okay, is this actually applicable to my situation, to my context, to my values, to my vision, to who I am as an individual? And that kind of leads me to think about a situation that I'm currently in, which we spoke about last night, and how, you know, mashallah, may Allah bless you both, you know, you shared your wisdom, you know, with me. And it was what I needed. It really was what I needed. But then despite hearing that, and I said to you, I wish I had recorded the conversation, right, so I could replay it. But even if I had recorded the conversation, even if I had replayed the wisdom and I had listened to it daily, it's only when I arrive at that point myself, having grown from the last experience, having chosen differently, having taken enough pause to choose better, that I gain that wisdom, you know? And it's like, I remember like last week, I was at a point where I felt really confused because this same situation that we spoke about, I was hearing different wisdoms. And it was like, it was just so loud, and the noise was just confusing me and actually weighing heavily on me because people were saying different things. And I just realized that, you know what, everyone will have their own take on the situation, but actually the only one that can truly decide in the best way is me. Doing a full assessment of what has passed, where I am, what I want, what I need, and asking Allah what He knows I'm heading to and what He knows I need, and then kind of looking at all of that and then making my decision.
Yes, and that listening to you takes me to listening to your intuition and knowing yourself and trusting what you know. That in the process of listening to 12 different people, some of them speak to the heart and speak to you truly, and others, it may be like, I appreciate where you're coming from, but it doesn't land. And I think inside of ourselves, we recognize like an element of truth in things sometimes. And you feel...
You know what? I'm reacting to what you're saying because I had a reaction to something someone messaged me just this morning. And I literally was like, I don't want to hear this, right? I don't want to hear it. But actually, the reason why I didn't want to hear it is because I know if I sit with it, there's truth to it. And that means that this just becomes even more complicated and more uncomfortable. And I've really got to face myself, you know? So it's true what you're saying.
Sometimes Allah will send you the messages through people.
Man.
Oh, you didn't hear? Okay.
Let me send it another way.
Right, and He will send it to people through people for you to hear. But like you said, we have to be in the place to take it and to apply it and to put it forward. We can get all the great advice, the wisdom from old, from now, and it won't land unless we're open for it to land for us.
Thinking about like if you're a person who's collecting wisdom, like you talked about listening to other people's stories and being able to say like, okay, I understand this, I understand that. And I think that there's like, you can create a bank of like human universals. You can start to like have this understanding of like how things work. But there's also the wisdom of when you speak to a friend, when you speak to a client, you have to know what to bring out and what applies to the appropriate situation. I think that, and also the ayah in the Quran about wisdom. In Surah Al-Baqarah, يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ, Allah gives wisdom to whom He wills, and whoever's been given wisdom, then they've been given like a huge good, a great good, and then turning it into a dua, like Allahumma atini al-hikmah, give me the wisdom, that if I've been given that, I've been given like a great good. To ask Allah for wisdom, it's something that He puts inside of people, and I think that it requires, like we talked about in the other session, it requires the solitude and the stillness and you have to be able to pull away from people, I think, a little bit to kind of like hone in on that voice and be connected to it. If it's always a referendum, then you have to go to 15 people in order to make a decision or think something through. You don't even know what your voice sounds like.
Yeah, and there's something that can happen when you've heard so many different voices that you stop recognizing your own. And one of my dua that I had to, that Allah led me to make recently was, Ya Rabbi, allow me to quiet the noise so I can hear what you need me to hear. Quiet the noise, and quiet the noise of doubt, quiet the noise of fear, quiet all of that, and allow me to hear with clarity what you need me to hear and what you need me to know, and give me the courage to put it forward. Because it's that courage part. We might know.
I need a little help with the courage, please send some this way.
Yeah, we might know. SubhanAllah.
And there's a difference between, because I think wisdom is not just knowing, it's following through.
Yeah.
It's arriving at a decision that aligns with the greater purpose, but then actually taking action and taking a step, that's wisdom. Because I don't think wisdom and courage can be separated. I don't think they can. I think courage naturally has to follow wisdom.
The thing is, there can be the knowing, but we can easily, like we've got the wisdom, we've got that knowing, but there's that fear of the outcome of taking action on that.
And that's where reliance upon Allah comes in. So we're saying wisdom, courage, and tawakkul, right? Because it's like, I know, but I'm scared because I'm not sure where this is going to lead to. Ya Rabbi, catch me.
And we can overthink. You can lead yourself into a loop of thinking. And sometimes I say to clients, I know you know. I know that you know. And I'm not going to tell you anything new because you know. So what's the hold up here? What's going on? It's the follow through part. It's the, but what if and what if and what if and what if it's from shaitan? If you have placed with Allah, and this goes back to the dua, right? If you've placed this with Allah, anything that comes after that is khair. Whichever way that looks, it's all good. You're covered and carried in that, however the answer is delivered to you, you know? But we can lead ourselves into this loop of, but.
It's that, and also like what you guys just said about when you know what you have to do, but for whatever reason you're not ready, or you're not capable, or you can't. And that maybe in the knowing there's enough. Like, I've received the message, I understand, but I need to prepare, and I need to build to where I can take the leap and I can do the things. Maybe I'm not strong right now. Maybe I don't have the resources right now, but I know what direction I'm supposed to head in. When you mentioned earlier today about like, I feel that this dhikr is just on my heart and tongue and mind today. Like that Allah guides you to say the thing that you need to say to get you out of the thing that you're in. Like He knows, and He's sending you help. He's helping you out. But are you aware? Are you paying attention? Are you acting on what came? Or do you feel like you need to go ask a scholar and get advice, and then they're going to tell you what you need to say when you just were told what you needed to say? Like, do you have to go around the bend when you know the answer? Like, it's so beautiful.
I think we need validation.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, you know, it's like we know, but we just need someone to tell us, yeah, that's good, that's right. And I think that's just being human.
So yeah, it's our way of being. You know, sometimes it's nice to hear what you know for yourself, but when you hear it outside yourself, then you can be like, okay, I'm not going nuts. There's not something missing here for me. It's like, oh, okay, all right.
And I think what that leads me to actually is just the thought of, I think sometimes when you're trying to make a wise choice mentally, it's difficult to arrive at, because there's just, as you said, there's so many voices. Maybe if you've sought advice, even with your own thoughts, you know, depending on your emotional state and so on. But I think sometimes even just like mind mapping, journaling can help you to arrive at what you really do know, you know, and just kind of taking it out from here and just putting it on paper in whichever way, you know, a person needs to, can kind of make it clearer.
You know, the NLP 4 questions, the Cartesian logic questions, I love them because sometimes they will just, like, the answers are so clear that you knew, but you just needed to get affirmation and confirmation that you knew. So the 4 questions are: what will happen if I do? What will happen if I don't? What won't happen if I do? What won't happen if I don't? And they seem really similar. But when you ask yourself each one and you write them down, or sometimes I like to kind of like voice say it, because what might occur via speaking won't necessarily occur via writing. And then listening to the patterns and looking like, you get to the end of all 4 and you're clear. it's such a way to be able to see with clarity in terms of consequence, especially for those people who overthink the outcome. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen if you do this thing, or if you take this action? What do you think is going to happen? Okay, what do you think won't happen if you do this thing? So you've got that, like, okay, now that's clear. Take that now understanding, take it to Allah, and take one action on that. And it's helped massively just through my own blocks, that I like, the ways that I've put blocks in my own way. Like, okay, get out of your head, and get it out on paper, and it's helped so massively.
I think things that's coming up listening to you is when it's not clear, and it won't get clear. There is a limbo phase sometimes where you are going for a stretch of time and the answer's just not like crystallizing. And I think that it's this exercise in being patient. It's an exercise in staying open, like it's eyes to the sky, like, oh Allah, what do you want me to do? Where am I supposed to go? What's happening? And the answer doesn't necessarily come right away. There's a period of time where you're just trying to feel your way in the dark. And it will come, but you have to hold. And it is a trust thing, because part of us needs answers so we can move, so we can stop feeling this, you know? And I think that has its place. So
does hold mean pausing? When you say hold, how would you what would that practically look like? If someone were to say, what do you mean by hold? I just have to hold. What does that mean?
I meant like not decide right now and not act right now. Yeah, because the doer in you might want to move because being still is really uncomfortable, and I feel like I need to take action to feel like I have agency or control, or I'm not just being passive and I'm not just suffering. Like,
but then in that pause and that hold, I think it's so important to turn to tools that will help you during that time, because it can feel very unsettling, right? Extremely unsettling. And so identifying, a sister recently said, like, have a menu of things that get you through, you know, that you can go back to. Because I'm listening to you and I'm just thinking about the situation that I'm in, and it's kind of like I'm in that place of hold, right? But now I need to ensure that as I'm taking time to discover the best wise step, and that's unsettling for me because I want to know, I want to move forward, I want to define this, that I care for myself, that I ask Allah to carry me when my emotions due to this kind of unsettling stage is just like making me feel like I'm losing myself, you know. I need to maybe focus on the things that ground me, that really, really ground me, because I think that place, it's like you're just loose, you know. It's a really scary place. So it's important that we're looking after ourselves and we're turning to tools to help us through that stage, and that's wisdom too.
Yeah, the wisdom there is to know to not act. The doer, to tame the doer in you. Say chill, sit down, we're good, we're safe, it's okay, we're gonna be all right.
Definitely. So, final words on wisdom. LaYinka, I'll start with you.
I was gonna be really goofy and funny. Okay.
Why not?
Sorry. No, I was.
What are you gonna do? Now we all want to know, the viewers included, right?
No.
She's trying to be wise, y'all. I know her volume went down. She was like, I was going to be goofy.
Yeah, I think, I'm really taking on that appropriateness, and that for me feels really practical, to just check in with the question of, is this action appropriate for this time, for this place, with this person, in this context? And that can really like ground and I'm taking that as my personal learning from this conversation. It's like, yeah, I like that, because it might be for some situations and with some people, but for this sensitive person, or for this person who flies off the handle, or for this person, this is what is actually necessary. And subhanAllah, I know some people like that. I have personal people in my life who will know, I'll say, why didn't you say that? Or why didn't you do that? It's like, because I know that it wasn't appropriate for this time in this place. I'm like, wow, Allah. You know, may Allah increase us in wisdom.
Ameen, Ya
Ameen,
Rab,
Ya Rab.
ameen. Yes.
I'll go back to the dua, make dua for it. Yeah, it's a gift.
Break it down again so that people can learn it.
The dua, it's from the ayah about wisdom in Surah Al-Baqarah. Allahumma atini al-hikmah allati man utiha faqad utiya khayran kathira.
Ameen, Ya Rab.
Ameen. I think my final words, not of wisdom, but on wisdom, is that actually it will just come. We're all a work in progress, and we are all learning and making mistakes, and then learning again and making mistakes again. And it's all good. It's all good. We're taking the lessons, we're evolving, and we just ask Allah for more of it. Ameen. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We very much look forward to speaking with you again at the next episode of Honesty Talk, inshallah.
We all look for role models, right?
We are the middle path. Islam is the middle path.
Some people might latch on to certain figures.
We're not calling you out. This is for you and your inner circle.
This is an individual journey between me and my Rabb.
You need a relationship.
So something they said, something they wrote, something they did,
Love me for the sake of Allah. What does that mean?
a warped perception of someone that starts to impact our hearts. That's where the danger is, when it starts to impact our heart.